Well, hello and welcome to Biz Coach and Coffee. I am your host, Biz Coach Steve Feld. And today we have a wonderful guest with us. I mean, every time I talk to her, it's enlightening. I learn something new, and you will too. It's Erin Loman Jeck. I'm going to let her talk about herself because it is phenomenal. She has a great history, a great track record, and really gets results for people. And she'll be sharing some tips. So welcome, Erin.
Thank you so much for having me here. I am just so honored to always so much fun being with you. And we always giggle and laugh and have so much fun, but I can't wait to share that with your audience as well.
Like we were just talking about, we have too much fun and we forget why we're talking. Why we're supposed to be talking about. So first thing is I'm going to have them tell you about you.
Yeah.
And, who do you serve as well?
I love that. Yeah. The road to being a world-renowned speaking coach doesn't start with a straight line, right? It's kind of zigzagging all over, but I'll go back. When I went to school, I wanted to be a therapist. I actually wanted to be a dolphin trainer, and I was a dolphin trainer. And while I was doing dolphin training, they said, well, you don't need a marine biology degree. You just need a psych degree. And I was like, well, I love people. I'm all in. So I went back to school, had my psych degree, went back, trained dolphins, realized you don't make much money training dolphins in the Florida Keys, and you had to bartend at night to be able to afford that. So I knew that there was something more for me. And so as I married my husband, and he's in the military, was in the military, traveled all around, and I was like, okay, I want to go for my master's in family therapy. I think this would be really fun. And so I started in that, and about 12 credits shy of my master's, I was in my clinicals, and people would just come in and complain and not change. And the other thing is, I'm a massive empath, so I feel everybody's stuff. So think about this. You're sitting in an office 8 hours a day, people dumping their deepest, darkest secrets in. They feel better when they leave, but I'm stuck feeling all of that stuff. I just realized that I'm so result driven that I couldn't listen to the people who were complaining and not changing. And it was wearing me down, being able to be in all of that, those feelings and all that stuff for so long. So I left my master's program, and I never forget, I looked at it and I was like, well, Tony Robbins doesn't have a degree, so why would I need one? And so that probably wasn't the best advice I gave myself, but in the same sense, I became a coach. And this is before coaching, everyone's a coach and all of that. And I've been a coach my whole life. I mean, I've been coaching my sister through volleyball all the way up to college. I have always, I went back to my high school and coached both volleyball and softball. I really do love to break down components of things and really teach people what they're doing incorrect, what can be optimized, how can we do that better. And so that's where I knew coaching was the place. And people who hire coaches want help, right? They weren't just coming to complain. And so I knew that that was my lane. And so I was a business coach for about 7 years, and everything started to come to a halt. And this is where I always know it's time for a pivot for me. And so as things came to a halt, I was driving down to World's Greatest Speaking Training with Brenna Burchard, Bo Easton, and Roger Love, my 3 mentors. And on the way down, I heard the big booming voice say, get in your lane. Here I am in the middle of Oregon, looking around, there's no one around me. And I'm like, I am in my lane. I mean, that's how I talk to the big booming voice. I kind of argue. And it was like, yeah. And what happened is I got this huge download of every time I have used my voice for the voiceless. And so it really became something really passionate. And what I do remember is my very first speaking gig, I was 10 years old. Not a dry eye in the room, standing room only. It was my daddy's funeral. But at 10, I so wanted to share stories about my dad and how amazing he was. He was my best friend. And when I was done, I looked up and I saw that everyone was moved to emotion. And I realized that our stories can move other people to emotion. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. Didn't think too much after that about it. But it really became one of the things that I was doing for other people. And that day I really helped my aunt. I was rubbing her back. I was like, you can do this. You got it. And she's barely holding onto the podium. And now I look back and I was like, wow, I really was being prepared for what I do now. So having my business coaching background, having a psych degree, having all of this information, when I got into speaking, I really realized that it was that I saw things differently. When Bo Easton, Roger Love were telling people some feedback, like if you do this with your voice, if you do this, if you create a melody with your voice, it makes you memorable. And I was like, well, of course, because melody is stored in the episodic part of your memory. So I started taking these concepts that speaking coaches were teaching, but I really understood how to transform the audience and get people so deeply connected to you that they're like, where do I sign? How do I sign up? Pulling out credit cards. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize I should be doing this. So it really made sense to me as why, I was being divinely guided that this is where I'm supposed to be. So I've helped people get TEDx everywhere from application to ovation. I've helped thousands and thousands of speakers, coaches, authors, consultants step on stage, share their message, and make multiple streams of income doing it. Because there is something magical about how I monetize everything I do. So it kind of took my background in psychology, my background in business coaching, put it together, and it's made such a beautiful marriage of a background for what I do now.
No, excellent. You're touching on so many points that stories sell. And talking to many small business owners and entrepreneurs, and trying to relate that versus the pounding way of the old way of like, buy my stuff and hey, I'm going to give you a discount before you even start looking at my stuff.
Yeah.
So, could any business owner and entrepreneur use stories in everything they do in their business?
Yes. And I'll even say, not just as entrepreneurs, I work with big industry leaders in the tech space. So Microsoft, Amazon, Boeing, Expedia, and these people have a job, but their job is to help enroll the audience into a new product, new idea, new way of doing things, a new perspective. So this can be used across all platforms. Mm-hmm. This can be used one-to-one or one-to-many, because everything I teach in speaking helps even when you're having a sales call or a prospect call, things like that. So everything is really enhanced with using your communication skills and really telling the stories that connect us all. And it's like like you were even saying, so many times, like in the tech space, I have these people who are data dumping on people, right? Here's our stuff. Here's what we do. Here's why you want it. And I'm like, nobody wants that. Tell them your story. How did you get to this? I mean, we watch Shark Tank, right? I am a diehard Shark Tank fan. You don't buy the widget. You buy the story and the person before the widget. You might not even want the widget, but by the time you hear the story, you want to support the person. And so you want to buy it, right? This is how sales has changed. And there are some 3 components to the best stories that connect across any platform, across demographics, age, gender, you name it. And it's these 3 things in a story. What was I thinking? What was I feeling? And what was I experiencing in my physical body? You see, that's the human experience. And so it doesn't matter if we have different backgrounds, different cultures, different races, different genders. We can come together when it's talking about thoughts, feelings, and physical experiences. Like if it's freezing cold out here in Idaho. If I was to step outside, I was like, how cold it is when you inhale and it hurts your nostrils? We all go, oh, I've been there. And when you get your audience to go, oh, I've been there, done that, now you're locked and loaded. Because what happens is when you tell your story, you release oxytocin. But when your audience gets into their story, they release oxytocin, and now you're bonded. So this is how we can deeply connect with our audience, no matter where they come from, no matter what they think. All of a sudden, they're like, wow, she gets me. She gets me. And then they want to buy from you.
Excellent. We're going to get a little deeper into this here in just a moment. We're going to take a quick little break for our sponsor. We will be right back with Erin. Exactly. I wouldn't do Jeopardy music. And we're back. So Erin was talking about connecting through stories. Can you give us an example, something that our listeners can really grab onto and maybe put in their business right away to enforce that and, hopefully sell some more stuff using stories?
Yeah, I will tell you the biggest secret is tell the stories you're afraid to tell. The ones that you're afraid that can decredit you, devalue you, maybe make you drop down a couple rungs. It really is the secret. I can tell you how I got up. I put my feet on the floor. I went to the bathroom. I brushed my teeth. I took a shower. I got dressed for the day. That's a lot of times how people tell stories. I. Now, when you tell a story, like I did at the beginning, I was 10 years old, standing room only, not a dry eye in the room. And as I stood there with the paper and I was shaking, and I didn't know if I could get the words out. And as tears strolled down my eyes, down my cheeks, I cleared my throat. Today, we're here to celebrate Rob Loman. You see, today was my daddy's funeral. Now, when I tell you that, there might have been a time where you were standing in front of a room, shaking with your paper, not knowing if you could get words out, or when you're crying and you know you don't want to speak because it's going to make it harder, you have that lump in your throat kind of thing, right? All of those things, somebody could go, oh, I've been there. Even if they've never been at their dad's funeral, never spoken at a funeral, none of that. They can connect with those things. What I was thinking was I couldn't get the words out. I was afraid, I was feeling afraid that I wouldn't be able to do this, right? And what you want to do is use thinking and feeling interchangeably, because if you have more women in the room, there's more feelers than thinkers. And if you have more men in the room, there's more thinkers than feelers. But if you have a joint, you have a lot of people who are on both sides, right? So you want to make sure you incorporate both. Because if I ask my husband, how are you feeling about your mom's death? I don't know. What are you thinking? Well, I really miss her. And so see how I had to change my language so he could hear it, so that he could then present exactly what I was saying. He's feeling sad and he's feeling like he misses her, but in his mind, it's a thought, not a feeling. Right. And so we have to use those things interchangeably depending upon your audience. And I always say using both, because some people might think they're not good enough. Some people might feel unworthy. Same thing, right? So you want to use those things to really help connect for everybody in the audience.
I think that's a great point, because years ago, my coach was beating me up for not telling my story about my very first business, it wasn't pretty. I was in the tech sector and tech bubble burst. And when I told the story to her, she was like crying for me. And she goes, that really happened? I go, not just happened to me, it happened to hundreds of thousands of people across the world. I mean, we were all impacted. And she's like, you got to tell your story. And when I tell it now, it still hurts. Because that was your first baby.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I get this, because 2019, I lost $65,000 in an event. And it brought me to my knees. Like, what is happening? Why is this happening? What just, I thought I was doing what you wanted me to do, right? And what ended up happening was I pivoted and I went back into corporate, and I totally took off. And then COVID hit, right? That February, COVID hit. What I knew was, it was from October to February. I started going, oh my gosh, everyone's trying to pivot and figure out how to take these events online, and no one knew how. Well, I did. And it took away the money that I had to pay for the hotel and all these things. So for that year, 2020, I did more events about events than I did speaking. And I will tell you, I was put into the biggest rooms with the biggest names in the industry who were struggling and asking my advice. So it got me, so it might have felt like a total failure, but what it did was it just prepared me for the pivot. And I already had to pivot in October for this to happen. I was like, oh, you just wanted me to go first. So all these people that are feeling desperate and don't have the answers, I know what that feels like. And now I can share that. And I will tell you, it tripled my income that year. From that, I was able to pay that money back really quick, because I just was able to use that story, and everyone was like, oh my God, this woman knows now what not to do. So I want to learn from her. So see how we think it could be like our biggest failure, but to other people, we're the savior.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, all business owners, entrepreneurs, they grow through this journey. The failing teaches us so many lessons. I mean, I learned more lessons from that than I still learn. I have learned tons of lessons from that one experience, and I've had 7 businesses since then. So just a few other experiences have been added on. But I think that's a part of our journey that gets us to where we are today.
Yeah, because if you stand on stage, you're on this big pedestal to people in the audience.
Mm-hmm.
When you humble yourself by sharing that story, some of the people in the audience are in that place right now.
Yeah.
Because you're a couple steps ahead, right? So by sharing that, you say, man, I've been there. I know what the pit is. I know what that feels like, but I know the route to the top of the mountain. So who's better to serve them than the person who just walked that journey and has come through it? And that's why we want to share those stories. Don't be afraid of those stories. Those are stories that get people to go, oh my gosh, yes. Oh my God, I'm going through that right now. You have to be my guru or my person because you know how the route to the top of the mountain and I'm lost. And so share those stories that you're so afraid to share because those are the ones that have the gold in them.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. And you know I'm a giver, and I know you're a giver too. What kind of thing or offer can you give to our listener?
Yeah, a lot of times I find speakers come to me and they're like, I'm not making enough money. How, or somebody asked me to come speak for free and I have to travel there. And how would I pay for it? And how do I do this? And I didn't realize that I had created a system, just being really smart about monetizing everything, and figured out all the money people were leaving on the table. And so what I created was a blueprint. It's called the 10K from Any Stage Blueprint and Mini Training, where I'll actually walk you through the steps to build the rapport before you show up, to make money before you show up for your event, and to maximize the amount that you make while you're there. Because I know so many times, I did it myself. I remember one time driving to an event going, I need to buy diapers, and I couldn't buy diapers. And so when I showed up, I was like, I'm going to sell from the stage. I got this. I'm going to sell my course. And no one bought. They all asked me to speak at other places, all this stuff, all these accolades. But that moment, and I sat outside in my car, like, I can't do this anymore. That's really what made me want to create a blueprint for people to walk through, to follow, so that they could maximize the amount of money they're making per engagement. Even if it's for free, you still can make 10K from any stage. So you can go to 10kfromanystage.com and you'll quickly download the blueprint. And I literally walk you through the blueprint, sharing every single step, and even showing you case studies of how much money I made in different places. And I will tell you some that I did some of the work, some that I didn't do, but I added in, like I couldn't do the pre-work because I was just showed up at on a cruise to speak, and I didn't have the pre-work, but I still was able to maximize. And I show you how that works, because I think a lot of times we say, oh, you can just go on, make 10K anytime, anywhere. But if no one's breaking it down, well, how did they do that? What are the ways? That's the important piece. And that's what I walk through on that free training.
Oh, excellent. That's a great gift. Now, if people are terrified for the stage, which, glossophobia is a real thing, number one fear in the world, maybe they can use these kind of techniques at, say, like their local networking event, right?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest thing. You want to get out there and just start. And even if you flop, who cares? It's practice. It's a practice round. You don't see professional athletes going out there their first day and hitting a home run or making a touchdown. Like, they work at it. And so just like that, you need to work at your craft. There are 4 things that I say in speaking. First is the nonverbal, because what happens in that nonverbal, when you are insecure, feeling nervous, you're doing things to self-soothe that the audience is going, oh, I don't know if he believes what he's talking about. Something's off here. Second is 30% is your vocal tonality. So that's 80%. 50% is nonverbal. Vocal tonality is 30%. Storytelling is 13%. And the words are only 7% because no one really cares what you say. It's how you say it and how they made you feel. So really maximizing those things. And what I always say is I always do a breathing technique that's really easy. It's a 4-second or 2-second inhale and a 4-second exhale, outhale. But it sounds like this. And I can't do it because I'm so congested. If you want to do a hard inhale through your nose for 2 seconds and 4 out. The reason this works is it overrides your nervous system. That inhale breath is our action breath. So you're shortcutting it. And then you're telling your body, oh, the relaxation breath. Oh, we're relaxing now. So it starts to send the chemicals through your body to relax you and to calm your nervous system. So anytime, even if like I almost got in a car accident once, and I used this to just calm myself down. And immediately, even after having a full out, adrenaline rush, I was able to calm it down within 6 breaths. No. So this is a way to override that for yourself. And then you'll be more confident on stage. You won't be doing these like and holding onto the mic for your life and whatever else you do. But it will really help kind of calm that system down for you. And I always say, don't focus on you. Focus on the audience. You're there for them only, not about you. When we get out of our own way and we make it about the people in the room, we'll show up. We'll do our best. We'll give it all. And that's what we need to do. Stop thinking it's about you, even though you're the one on the stage.
Absolutely. Great advice. And we will have the link in all the show notes. So please take advantage of Erin's offer. Any parting words before we get out of here?
The world is crying out for leaders right now more than ever. And you holding on to your stories and you holding on to your solution to people's problems, worrying about being seen, worrying about being judged, criticized, ridiculed, isn't serving the world. You're here on purpose, for a purpose. And so, there are people out there manifesting and praying for you to show up. It's time for you to show up, share your story, share your message, and change the world.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing those tips. Folks, take advantage of our offer. How great is that? I mean, it can be used in so many ways to help you grow your business and share your knowledge. This is Biz Coach Steve. Please make sure that you like this episode and subscribe to our channel so you get to hear these great experts helping you grow your business. This is Biz Coach Steve Feld wishing you and your business much success.
This episode is sponsored by Spotlight Books. Get your expert book completed in 30 days. If you don't have an expert lead magnet book about you and how you serve your market, then visit www.spotlight-books.com. Link is also in the show notes. Put a spotlight on your expertise.
Hello and welcome to the Transformational Speakers Podcast. I'm your host, Erin, Loman, Jeck, and I can't wait to introduce you to our next guest. Our next guest is a buddy of mine, Steve, and he is a business coach that just has so much knowledge. He is so good at being able to find hidden money in your business, be able to help you monetize, maximize, and optimize everything that you're doing. And so I cannot wait for him to tell you a little bit more about who he is. But thank you so much, Steve, for being here. I really appreciate it.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me as your guest.
Oh, of course. Now, you guys, this is probably going to be fun because we always have fun, and Steve and I always giggle and chant back and forth. So you're going to get a little sneak peek of that as well as we go along this. But Steve, tell everybody, like we always say, success isn't the straight line. So tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got to where you are today.
Yep. Well, I'm Biz Coach Steve Feld. I've actually owned and operated 7 different businesses and ran 3 others. I wish I could say they were all unicorn stories and rainbows and glitter, but some of them weren't. Some were the ugly pops and the nastiness. But that's what helped me get better and better. And one of I found my passion years and years ago, and that was working with small business owners. So I do workshops all the time, trying to help them because the failure rate for small business owners is ridiculously high. And it has not changed since, get this, 1932 when they started tracking it. It has not changed. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world, economics, nothing. Small business owner failure is too great. And it's my goal to help and work with as many small business owners, entrepreneurs. Come on, build the dream. You have a dream, you have goals, and you need help. And I'm here to help.
So what do you think is the biggest reason people are failing?
Oh, well, I have done it. I wish I could say I didn't. In one of my businesses, it wasn't pretty. I really dreaded going to my own job. I owned my job and I hated it. I dreaded it. And it was taking an impact just not on me, my health, my vendors, my customers, and my employees in my home life. And finally, I talked to other business owners, and after them pounding it in my head, they said, get some help. So I went out and sought out some business coaches, interviewed them, found the right person. In 30 days, my life was changed. 30 days. All of a sudden, I felt great. I loved coming in. My employees loved having me there versus, don't you have somewhere else to be? You know, home life got better, work got better, everything improved, and it was all because I got help. And throughout the years, throughout all these businesses, I learned it's not just the coach. I also found, well, I love doing accounting, but now do I want to do accounting? Heck no.
Math.
Because, yeah, math. I forgot. So we had a math story earlier. And, but I love it, but it's like, is that a good use of my time? No, get help. Once I did that, all of a sudden my time freed up. And I see that with small business owners. They're trying to do the accounting and they know nothing about accounting. So they're getting frustrated, wasting time and wasting money and messing it up. And then you got the IRS knocking at your door. Get the help. So I say, number one thing, get help. Whatever you don't like to do, someone else loves to do. Get them on board to do it.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times, like, I think the misnomer for me when I first got help was, well, I can't afford it. I can barely afford my own stuff. But what ends up happening is when you actually start looking at your time versus money and you start accounting for that, you start figuring out real quick, well, yeah, that 6 hours I spent doing my taxes where somebody could have done it in an hour. It's like, why did I waste 5 hours? And what is your time really worth? And when you think about it, I mean, I get paid $500 an hour. So like if I'm doing that, and so why would I waste all that money doing something I can't stand to do?
That's it. And I started realizing that my getting that first coach out, first thing, how am I going to afford it? And it's like, you know what? I got to invest something in my business. Otherwise, I won't have a business in a year. It's as simple as that. So I made the investment. And then I started calculating out 6 months later, all the time I have. I freed up time. And I've seen this with my clients. And one of my clients, one of his top 5 things that he wanted me to help him on was, I want more personal time with my wife because home life was getting pretty nasty. In the first 3 months, he goes, I have taken more things off my plate. I freed up 5 hours a week already. I'm like, 5? We started calculating how much he was really working. He was putting in 72 hours a week. 5 hours is huge. And we're like, hey, just wait till that happens after 6 months. After 6 months, he goes, I freed up another 5 hours. And he's breathing again. And his wife, well, she's very happy that she gets to see him.
And I think that's the other piece. I haven't really even shared this publicly lately, but because of the stress I've been under and all the things, I'm actually like losing hair. Like I'm thinning out all this stuff because my nervous system is on overload because I'm working full time. Then I'm taking care of my mom. I'm taking care of my family and all of it's on me. And I was like, why am I feeling so overwhelmed? But when you can actually look at it and go, you know what? I want overall satisfaction. What makes me happy? What do I want to be doing? And, I think a lot of times we do all these things because it's like we have to instead of what do I want? And then what do you don't want? Whatever you don't want, that's what you can get rid of. Like start there if that's the easiest thing to do. But it really truly does. If you are more satisfied in your entire life, you're a better coach. You're a better business owner. You're a better wife. You're a better mom. You're a better dad, whatever. But it all balances out. So you have to think me first because you cannot fill up anybody's cup with your empty cup.
That's it. And you brought up some other things. The stress that goes on in your business, it's a lot here. It's a lot, everything. It's all that pressure. It takes a huge, massive toll on your body. I mean, look, I'm 28. No, this is from kids.
And having 7 businesses.
Yeah. The first one just made me cry after it. I literally sat in a room and cried for 2 days because it was my first kid.
Yeah,
And then
and mourning the life that you dream, the business you dream, and now you're at a loss. And I think that's the other thing most people don't understand. Even if it's not a real loss, like a funeral, somebody dies, sometimes we build up what things are going to look like and what our life looks like and what things, and you got to remember that your brain thinks that's so real. So you're mourning all of that stuff, not just, oh, I lost my business. It's like, I lost the dream of all this stuff. And that's way more than just what it is in front of you.
Absolutely. Well, day 3, I put on big boy pants and started my second company. So.
Well, that's what we say. We learn best from our failures, right?
That's it. I did some introspective in those 2 days in my morning. And I realized it was external circumstances. All my clients were in the tech sector at the time. And I was getting paid in stock options as well. And I was busier than busy and I had a line out the door waiting for my services. I was bringing on people to help me, and the tech bubble burst, and so did the business. Everything would dry up literally overnight. I couldn't get a hold of anyone because all their phones are cut off. Their phone companies cut them off. They couldn't pay their bills. Everyone who I had on the waiting list, gone. What do you mean? We lost everything. And I had a 4-inch notebook of stock options that were now worthless.
Zero.
It was zero. Here I am, like, counting it all up. I'm like, ooh, look, I got 5 million in this book. Not today. Zero. I went and did a burning party on day 3.
I love it. Well, so if people first thing is they need to get help. What would you say is the second thing that really helps people, stay sustainable, to actually make sure that that doesn't happen to them?
Oh, one of the things I see a lot in small business owners, that there's no internal systems and controls. So they're trying to build a business and they have a goal one day of selling their business for $1 million and retiring on a beach, but they don't have an end goal. They don't have an exit strategy. And we saw this in 2020 during the pandemic. People are trying to get rid of their business that was locked up, but they don't have a business to sell. There's nothing to sell. It's them and their spouse and maybe a kid in the business. That's not sellable. So you got to build a business with the end in mind. And when I talk to small business owners about that, they're like, what do you mean? I just started my business 3 years ago. What's the goal? You need to know where you're going. So we have a goal here, because if otherwise, I've seen this too many times, you're in business for 40 years and you're trying to sell it and no one wants to buy it because it's just you. You've been making a great living, but you didn't bank it. You didn't put anything away, and you didn't bring on employees and put in internal systems to sell. So what's the end goal?
Yeah. And I think a lot of times we get into the place where, like, well, I don't know. Well, what if my kid wants it? Well, what if this or what if that? And so we don't really think about, if I'm building this to be sellable, I need some stuff from day one. Like, absolutely. I got to start thinking about those things. And I really think the other thing is that a lot of times people think that they are the magic. Here's the one thing that I love about coaches, consultants. Oh. They think that they're the only magic, that they can't duplicate or bring on. Like, I have a licensing program. I teach people to be speaking coaches. It really works for me. And now I can build a business where I don't have to coach as much if I don't want. I can send it to my peeps and still make money on that as well. Because even if I'm out speaking, I can enroll them to either work with me or work with the team at a lower price point. And then I still make money on that. And the other thing I love is that I can't be everywhere at once. So when I started getting all these big contracts with Boeing and Microsoft and Amazon, Expedia, it was really, they would want me to come and do these workshops. Well, I can't do those every single day, all day long, 1-day workshops. So I was training them to do my workshops for me. Now, here's the secret. The company would pay me 10 grand. I would pay them 2 grand to go show up for the day and just go and, serve the community. They could either sell into their own services or sell into mine. That way they had full autonomy to do what they wanted. And some of them were like, I just want to sell your stuff. I just want to go do this, be a facilitator, go, come back, make my 2 grand and make my commissions and be done. And you're like, oh my gosh, I never thought I could actually train somebody to do what I do, right? Because they think that they're the magic.
That's it. I mean, I have multiple coaches under me. And the reason is, it's like, guess what? I can duplicate myself. I don't have to be everywhere at once. I learned that long time ago in one of my businesses. My one goal in the business was always hire smarter than me. Always. And that business took off like a rocket ship. And why? They saw things in the business that I don't see because they're an expert in certain areas that I was not. And I valued their expertise and implemented it. And it was like this collaborative effort. And it was phenomenal. I learned so much from them.
Well, like you said, sometimes it's our baby. So we have like these blinders on, right?
Well,
like,
don't tell me how to
I am
run
so invested in how this looks. You know, you see it on Shark Tank. These people, I remember it was a light bulb, and I can't remember what the light bulb was, but this guy created some kind of special light bulb. And they're in there and they're talking, and the guy was so attached to the idea of the light bulb that he wouldn't license it, he wouldn't do anything, and he walked out with no offer because he couldn't give up the idea that somebody else could then license it. He's like, no, I gotta keep selling my light bulbs. What happens if I don't sell my light bulbs? And I just laughed at the guy. I was like, dude, nobody cares about your light bulb.
Right. And sometimes, I've consulted with companies like that, where it's like, if you license this, how much more you can do and get your brand recognition out because you have a global brand name and blah, blah, blah. And they would sit there, no, we got to keep it all together and we're going to keep it right here. And I go, so you're willing to just make 40,000 a year versus 4 million a year. Okay. And that's why your business isn't growing. You got to think a little bit outside the box. It's not always you. At the beginning, it is. Yeah, I get it. But guess what? You're not the first business owner that had problems, and you won't be the last. And your business isn't unique. Sorry to tell you all businesses, I focus on the foundational elements of business, which is every business in the world. So it's the same.
Well, I'll be honest. I think when I first got into building my business, I had no idea that it was like an MBA that I needed.
Yeah.
And I've gotten it along the way. I know how to do social media. I know how to do email marketing. I know how to, you start learning sales, marketing, all the things along the way, because every step of that is you. But then to find somebody who's better at marketing than you, that's smarter in it, that sees it from a different viewpoint, that could take you in so many directions that you never saw possible because you got your little blinders on, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the day I even got someone to be a better salesperson. So I was always at the counter in one of my retail stores, and I'm best sales guy here, right? And I finally had someone else, and I watched them one day. I'm like, they're way better than me. Dude, you're at the counter. I'm in the back room.
And if you don't give them the opportunity, that's the other thing. So many of us want to micromanage or make it look a certain way because it's the way you've always done it. But if you let go of that and let somebody fly, you never know how they implement might actually be so much better than the way you do it. And I've always said that too. It's hard to hire a salesperson for what I do, because in the coaching space, I'm coaching you when I'm doing a prospect call, right? I'm giving you advice. I'm doing these things with you. And so I was thought, well, who can do it like me? And what if I have a salesperson that's so different from me that when they come to me, it's like, wait, what did I just buy into? But it's not as hard as you think. I made up all that crap in my head.
Oh, absolutely. And you brought up a great point. When business owners, years 2 to 5, the number one killer for business is leadership, because they're micromanaging their people to death, and they can't keep an employee if they get an employee, because they're the reins. I mean, they're white knuckling those reins, and they won't let it go. I mean, I've ran other people's businesses, and I learned real fast, dude, let it go. Hire the best, give them the support, the tools they need, and give them also one big long rope with a chair. So let's see, what are they going to do? Are they going to hang themselves or leave the rope and the chair off to the side and really go forward?
Yeah. And I think that's really a pivotal thing. So if you were to give somebody maybe who is even thinking about starting a business, what would be the advice you would give?
First, it's like, you can't get some education, but One thing I do, I teach this workshop called ABCs of Starting a Business. I've done it for like 5 years, 3 times a month. And we see entrepreneurs coming in, people thinking about starting a business. And I call it the entrepreneurial truth. Okay, you think you're going to work less and make more. I'm telling you, folks, you're going to work more, make less at the beginning. We actually have a truth time to see, are you a true entrepreneur? And I've heard more people come out of those workshops going, thank you for saving my life. And it's like, why? You talked me out of opening up my own business. Why? They go, I realize I am not ready for this. And you say you're going to save their life. You're going to save their house, their marriage, everything. So when you're thinking about starting a business, everything. Yeah. You will go crazy. Believe me. If you don't like ramen, as a business owner, you better just suck it up.
So I always say entrepreneurship is personal development 2.0. It's the master's program. Like every day you have something that's triggering you. You get a no, you get rejection, you get something doesn't work. You're always having something not happen, and you're always questioning yourself, and you're always like seeking more, finding more education, finding events, workshops, coaches, you name it. And it can get a little overwhelming.
Yeah, that shiny object syndrome is notorious for small business owners starting off, because they're so busy chasing that, oh, maybe it's this, maybe it's this, maybe it's this. You guess what? If you would have stuck with one thing that was proven, you would be successful. Stop chasing all the little shiny objects. And you really got to take a deep introspective, and that's where you need some good support around you, even your friends. I mean, well, a lot of them are going to tell you, don't do that. It's a dumb idea, right? Okay, you need new friends.
Well, here's what I say. Feedback. You only receive feedback from someone who has the results you want or is your ideal client. That's it. No one else. Because my mom can't tell me how to run a business. She doesn't know. She's a nurse for 44 years. She doesn't have an idea. My husband, he was in the military. He is definitely not an entrepreneur. He became a massage therapist. He was like, oh, I had to build a business. I thought I could just do what I do. And I'm like, well, you could. Work for Massage Envy, but you're making $20 an hour instead of $100 an hour. But that's a choice.
Absolutely. When I first started my very first business, I actually sought out business owners that were highly successful and who have had failures in multiple businesses. And I picked their brain, like, what should I learn at starting this business? And they just grilled me like, are you ready for this? And my eyes were like this. And at one point, it took me another 3 years before I revisited it because I wasn't ready. And they opened up my eyes to that. And to this day, I'm thankful for those conversations. And now when I went back ready, I'm thinking I'm ready. I went back and it's like, I am now ready. My mind's in the right place. I'm ready for this. And then they go, okay, buckle up. You're in for a ride.
Let's see what happens.
And I got mentors to help me and advisors. And I thought they're telling me what to do. And it was against everything I thought I should do. And I listened to them, and oh my God, they're right. Why? They've been there, done it.
What you might learn in a book might not work, but what we're looking at, these people have it in real life experience. They've been doing it. So that's how you know that they really know what they're talking about.
That's it. I always equate it back to like Rodney Dangerfield, back to school. What he talked about in real life without going to business school was reality. And they're teaching him book stuff about business, and they weren't in total conflict. So he had problems with the teacher.
Well, I know you have a book. Speaking of books, you have a book that helps people with implementation stuff. Like you have stuff that are like, here are the key tips. So will you share that with us?
Yeah, I have 6 books now, but this one, please. We have the 45-minute business breakthrough, and it's how to find at least 10,000 in your business. It's not a hard read, but it showcases 8 simple proven strategies that you can implement in your business, no matter what size it is, without spending more on marketing or advertising. So we're trying to help you. And I teach this all the time. I do workshops on it. It's like, folks, this isn't rocket science. I'm not the first person to tell you about it. I'm just showing you a different way to implement these strategies without don't spend more money on marketing or advertising. You can actually grow your business through 8 simple strategies. And I have hundreds, but I'm just showcasing 8 right here.
No, and if you put in hundreds, they would get lost. Like, okay, go and implement one, see if it works, see if this
just
will
one
work.
at a time.
Yes.
At
Yes.
a time.
Not all at once.
Not all
okay,
at
we're
once.
completely changing my entire business right now. I got these 8 things I got to get done. Like, that doesn't work.
You're going to drive yourself cuckoo. I'm telling you. It's just driving yourself. It's driving us cuckoo. List talking about it.
So where can they find it?
Great. They could just go to bizcoachsteve.com/100K.
Nice. Who doesn't
And
want
it's
100K?
BIZ. 100K. Yeah, we started finding out we're not finding 10,000 because we also use proprietary software and run a business through it. And we used to say, hey, we could find you 10,000 of hidden annualized revenue. And we started realizing we're finding everyone over 100,000. So we started changing it to 100K.
I love that. I love that. So I always ask everybody that comes on my show one question. And I always love to think about this as, future pacing. But I have ELJ is, my future self. She is a $40 million company. She sat under the trees with Oprah, New York Times bestselling author. She's done all the things. And a lot of times when I'm in a place where I need advice, I bring her in because she doesn't see all the roadblocks and the obstacles, and she isn't freaking out like I am, right? And so if I was to bring your future self to you today, what advice would he give you?
Oh, this one's the same one I think I brought my future self to my 16-year-old self. And it's stay focused. You know your path. You know your mission in life. Stay true, and I'm staying true to it. Just stay focused on it and stop trying. And I'm no different than any other business owner. It's like shiny objects. And I have learned when it comes to shiny object syndrome, that's when I put the blinders on. But when it comes to my business, I got to take them off. And I'd say stay focused. You know where you're going to go. You know how you're helping business owners reach their goals and dreams. And that's where your passion lies. Stay there.
I love that. I always find the best nuggets when I get people to think about that. So that was really great. Well, don't forget to go to his website, get that book, download it, get what you need, get some of those things implemented in your business and completely have a breakthrough and change your business. Any last parting words before we close out?
Oh, I always offer to all business owners, hey, listen, it's not easy. You're a silo in a field. That's what you think it is. You're actually a silo sitting next to another silo, sitting next to another silo in the biggest field in the world. You're not alone. But if you ever need help, you want someone to talk to, you can't talk to your spouse, you can't talk to your employees, your mentors, whoever, feel free, hop on a quick call. It's not a sales call, just to talk. Let's get you out of that rut. Business shouldn't be this difficult. And everyone makes it that so hard. And I just want to help. Stop that madness, please.
Stop it already. Just stop it.
Stop.
They're like, please stop.
Gonna make you cry.
Well, thank you so much, Steve, for being here and the work you do in the world. I really appreciate it. And I know the world is a better place with you in it. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. And I wish everyone the best success.
And we will see you on stage. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed today's topic. If you'd like to discuss how you can apply these strategies in your business, let us know. This episode is sponsored by Spotlight Books. Get your own expert book written about you in 30 days. Set yourself apart from the competition. Make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. Also, feel free to give us your comments. We look forward to hearing from you on Biz Coach and Coffee.